Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today we're going to take a look at Carcassonne Safari by Z-Man Games. It's a game for 2 to 5 players and lasts about 35 minutes. We're going to put it on the table and walk through a partial playthrough so you can get a feel for how the game works. And in the end, I'll give you a quick review to tell you what I think about Carcassonne Safari. Let's get it to the table. Alright, so here we've got the game of Carcassonne Safari set up on the table. I've set it up for a 3-player game, and we'll go through a few turns here just to let you get a partial playthrough and feel for the flow of the game. The setup is looking for this starting tile, which just has 3 squares, and then putting the 2 rangers in this position around that starting tile. Then you take up all the other tiles, I think there's 72 tiles, and you mix them up and you put them just in stacks along the side where we'll choose them from. Then we've got these watering hole tiles. You deal 2 to each player. So we've got blue, red, and black as our 3 players today. And the rest are face down in a collection where we can choose them later in the game. Then we've got our scoring card over here, our scoring board over here. We take the elephant meeples and we put them on the scoring board for each of the players. Each of the players then also has their own 6 meeples of their color. There are also the 50 and 100 point tokens here. So as the game goes along, once you circle through the path of the scoreboard once, you get a 50 token. And if you do it a second time, you get that 100 token. All right, so that's the setup. It's a pretty simple setup. And now let's get into the game. So the youngest player is supposed to start. I'll assume that in this case, I'm the youngest player and I'll be playing red. I'll have my wife Janelle playing blue and my son-in-law Aaron playing black. We just played yesterday as a 3-player game, and so those are the 3 of us that played, and we'll just use that as our simulation today. So there's a few things that are similar and a few things that are different from base game Carcassonne if you've played that before. I won't assume that you understand how to play Carcassonne, but for those that do, there's a few things that you'll recognize. In this game, we're going to build on these bushland areas, kind of like we do in cities for regular Carcassonne. We're going to extend these animal trails, kind of like extending a road in Carcassonne. There's going to be baobab trees that show up, similar to cloisters. The main difference, though, in terms of how they score. You build them much the same way as cities and roads and cloisters, but they score very differently. So if you have some familiarity with Carcassonne, that may give you a little bit of a foresight. If not, don't worry about it. I'll be going over it step by step. The 2 rangers are a completely new mechanism to the game, and you can move the rangers, you can also displace the rangers, and we'll illustrate those throughout the game as well. The animals that are on the tiles are actually the main way that you score points, and the baobab trees actually don't score you points, but they give you access to these watering hole tiles. So that's a quick summary of some of the key features of the game. I think you'll catch on to the flow and what the different rules are as we play, so let's just jump right in. So as the first player, I'll take my tile and I'll look at it. Now I can place it anywhere where I'm continuing the terrain. So if you see the tile here, and let me show you a close-up of what this tile looks like. So on this tile you can see I've got a road, and on the bottom half of the tile there is some bushland with a bird flying over. Along this road is a zebra, and then there's just safari around it. So I could choose to continue and actually complete this bushland by placing it there. I could continue this animal trail by placing it there. I could even rotate the tile and continue the animal trail there. I could complete this bushland here, or I could put it right where this ranger car is, because that would just be safari land on safari land, and that's actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to place it right there, and I have displaced the ranger. So when you displace the ranger, the first thing you do is you pull it to your supply. So I've pulled that to my supply. And I am not continuing any terrain other than safari, but now I have a choice. I can place one of my meeples if I would like to. If I would like to place it, I can place it on this animal trail. And what that does is gives me possession of this animal trail. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with this one or this one yet, although they may end up connecting in the future. Now, as the possessor of this animal trail, what I would try to do is extend it. And the trails earn you valuable victory points if they have a variety of animals along the trail. Because if you want to take people on a safari, you would want them to see a bunch of different kinds of animals, not just one kind of animal. So I could claim that trail and then hopefully come up with a corner piece that will connect it, and then I would have a giraffe and a zebra on the trail. I also could put my meeple in this bushland. Now there's no animals in the bushland except the bird flying overhead. But the same style of earning points happens in the bushland. If I can build bushland and create a bushland that has lots of different animals in it, the more variety of animals in that bushland, the more points I'll earn. The birds flying overhead are just automatically points for completed bushland. So I can decide, do I think I want to continue this trail and try to earn points on that later? Do I want to try to continue growing this bushland and try to earn points on that later? I have to choose one or the other, or I could not place a meeple at all. If I don't place a meeple at all, my options are to move a ranger, which in this turn I actually can't do because I just displaced the ranger, or I can place these watering holes. Now the watering holes get placed on the board at intersections that are all grassland safari. So I could put it here, I could put it here, I could put it here. I would be running a little bit of a risk by putting it in any of those because I'm hoping that this one will have safari in the corner, and most likely it will based on the terrain, and I know, having played the game several times, what some of the terrain looks like, but there's a little bit of a risk. I could also place it up here, but now I've got two pieces that may or may not actually have clear open terrain. Same thing here. Most likely it will work, but rather than taking the risk, I'm going to just place a meeple, but that is another option, and we'll talk about these watering holes as we eventually do place them in the future. So I'm going to place a meeple, and I'm going to go ahead and claim this animal trail. Now I've put this ranger in front of me because I displaced him based on where I located my tile. Now when I put it back, I'm going to gain 3 points for displacing the ranger's car. But when I put it back, I want to put it in another place where I might be able to displace it in the future. And I hope to extend this road, so I'm going to place it here, and then hopefully next time I'll get a road that I can displace the ranger again. But because I displaced it and now have put it back on the board, I get 3 points. And I mark it on the track board with my elephant. All right, so that is my turn. Now we move on to Janelle's turn. She is the blue player. So she picks a tile off the top of one of these different piles, and we've got the bushland. Hers has an elephant in it. She's got an animal trail with a lion on it, and then just safari surrounding. So she could just go safari to safari. She could also just close off this bushland. Now if she did that, let's just go ahead and talk about the scoring. There are 2 elephants in the bushland, but in this game you get points based on variety of the animals. So that would only count as one kind of animal. And along the bottom of the board here is a score chart to let you know how you earn the points. So this shows you if you have one kind of animal, you get 1 point. If you have 2 kind of dissimilar animals, you get 3 points. 3 different animals gives you 6, 4 gives you 10, and 5 gives you 15. Now, you can always add animals by using these watering hole animal tiles as well on your roads and in the bushland. So she could actually take a lion or a zebra from her collection of tiles here and put it in there to get 2 animals that are different. She'd have the elephant and the lion or lion or zebra. And that would give her 3 points. But that's not a really large number of points. She could also come over here and just start extending this road and potentially see if she could maybe make some really big bushland here by eventually connecting those 2. And a lot of other placements are possible. She could also do like I did and displace the ranger. And I think she'll do that. So she'll displace the ranger, and she'll just put her tile this way. So note, you can orient the tile in any direction you choose, as long as the terrain matches. And then she has to make a choice. Is she going to place one of her watering hole tiles that she has in her possession, or is she going to place one of her meeples? And let's say that since she sees this bushland actually has an elephant in it, she's going to put her meeple in that elephant bushland. And then she gets to put the ranger back where on the board next to a tile where she hopes to maybe displace it in the future, and she'll earn her 3 points for displacing the ranger. So she's hoping to extend this bushland, so she's going to put it there, and that gives her her 3 points. And that is the end of Janelle's turn. Now we move on to Aaron's turn, the black player. So for Aaron, he is going to again take a tile. You can take it from any of these piles, just random piles, and then Aaron chooses this tile. And on this one we can see it has bushland, it has an animal trail. There's no animals in the bushland except for the bird flying overhead. There is a chimpanzee along the trail, so that's good, but there's also a baobab tree. And the baobab trees are a little bit different. You don't score points for the Baobab trees, but every time you put one in play and choose to lay down a meeple on top of the Baobab tree, you get to get 2 more of those animal tiles. And then it works, for those of you that have played Carcassonne before, it works like the cloister. You continue to place tiles around it, and once all the 8 tiles all the way around it are complete, and it's completely surrounded, you pull your meeple back off, and then you get 2 more tiles. So no points awarded, but those animal tiles, which you can develop watering holes with or add animals to your bushlands and animal trails to earn points, are what those are valuable for. So if we look at this one, let's see, Aaron decides he is going to place this, let's see, he's going to place this here, and then he might eventually be able to see if he could get involved in this bushland. But he's going to put his meeple laying down on the Baobab tree, and that gives him 2 more animal tiles. So he has 2 animal tiles. He didn't displace a ranger, so he didn't earn any points this turn, but now he has 4 animal tiles for later use. And that's Aaron's turn. Back to my turn. So I grab a tile. Now I have a Baobab tree. I also have a couple of roads here. Now I have a couple options with these roads. I could put this way, and it actually will end this road, and I could choose to put a meeple on that road and gain points, because that would have a zebra and a giraffe. It would be a 2 animal road, so 3-point animal trail. I could do like Aaron did, lay my meeple down on the Baobab tree and hope that I can surround eventually and immediately gain 2 animal tiles for future watering hole development. Or I could not play a meeple, and I could actually move the ranger, or I could play one of the animal tiles I already have to start developing a watering hole. So those are my options, and that's just if I place it here, how that would finish this road and then put an end on that road. I don't think I'm going to actually do that, though. I'm going to look at some other options here. And let's see, let's go up here. If I put it here, the benefit is I've already got 4 tiles surrounding it, so it's halfway surrounded as a Baobab tree. It doesn't help any of my road down here, but putting it there means it's already getting a good start on being surrounded, and I get 2 tiles immediately. And now I've got, whoa, I've got a whole bunch of lions here for my animals. And I didn't move the ranger, I didn't complete anything, so I don't earn any points, and that's my turn. Now we move on to Janelle's turn. All right, so she has some bushland, and that's what she was hoping to gain. And so she has a couple things she can do here. She wanted to expand this bushland, and if she places this here, that's going to also allow her to displace the ranger, and that'll earn her some points. So she gets to decide, does she want to expand it this way? Does she want to expand it that way? If she puts it this way, she might start thinking, well, there's a road here. That may be a little bit harder to finish. If she puts it this way, she's got some open area to expand the bushland, and then a corner here where she could actually go ahead and finish that road. And there's an elephant and a zebra, so actually she's going to claim the animal trail, because there's already 2 animals along that trail, and if she can get a corner that fits that, she might be able to score that later in the game. Now she displaced the ranger, so as she puts it back, she's going to gain her 3 points, and she's going to be able to put this wherever she wants. Now she's hoping to continue to expand this bushland, so she's going to put it there and hopefully be able to displace it again in a future turn. And that's Janelle's turn. Back to Aaron. Aaron takes a tile. He decides to take it from the middle one this time. Now before, he had hoped that he could get this surrounded Baobab tree. He also was hoping potentially maybe he could expand on some bushland down here, but he has another Baobab tree and a road. So he has to decide where he's going to put this. He could not put it here because we've got safari land with bushland. That doesn't match up. He could not put it here because we got road going into safari land. That can't work. He could go here, and he could choose to either do another Baobab tree to get some more tiles. Can't go here, can't go here, here, here. He could go here. Doesn't really seem to help a lot other than potentially starting to surround this Baobab tree a little bit more. So he's going to have to decide, where does he want to place it. And I think he'll just put it right over here. And he could go ahead and claim the Baobab tree, but he just did. He already has 4 tiles, so I think he's going to choose to claim the animal trail. And it's already got a chimpanzee and an elephant, so he's got 2 animals on this trail already. That'd be a pretty good safari. He didn't displace a ranger, so that's the end of his turn. And now it's my turn. I'm going to pick one from this side this time. I've got bushland, and then I've also got a baobab tree. So let's see. I don't really have any territory started in terms of bushland. I can't put it beside here. They have to be fully touching along one whole edge. I don't really want to close this off yet, being so small. I can't put it here and displace this ranger. And if I put it over here, it's just going to close the grassland or the bushland for my wife, Janelle. So I don't think I'm going to do that either. And so I don't have a ton of options. I could close off one of these small little places. I think, though, I am just going to put this up here. Safariland is Safariland. And I don't have any of my meeples in a bushland yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put my meeple in this bushland that has an elephant. Didn't displace a ranger. Haven't completed any of the territory types for the trails or the bushlands. Haven't completely surrounded a baobab tree. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's the end of my turn. And then it's Janelle's turn. All right. Now she's fairly excited about this because she could go ahead and close off that city and displace the ranger. So that's what she's going to do. She's going to play it here, which displaces the ranger. And that finishes the bushland. All right, so she gets to pull her meeple back and then score that bushland. So you can see there's a chimpanzee and a giraffe and an elephant. So she's got 3 animals already in there. But she could say, you know what, I'm going to add a zebra. And you can add 1 tile per completed territory, for completed trail or completed bushland. So she's going to go ahead and add a zebra to this, which gives her 4 animals in that bushland. And with 4 animals, that's 10 points. She also has a bird flying overhead of this bushland, so that's another point. So she has 11 points for that bushland that she's just completed. And so she goes from 6 to 17. Now, once these have been used in that manner inside the bushland or on a trail to add animals to it, they get discarded from the game. All right, now she could still place a meeple if she chooses, but there's nowhere to place it on this tile that she just put down because that bushland was already part of bushland that she was possessing. And there's no baobab tree or road to put her meeple on, so she really doesn't have an option to put a meeple. So her choices would be normally move one of the rangers, but she can't do that this turn either because she's already displaced the ranger. So her only other option would be to place a tile to start a watering hole. All right, so she's going to go ahead and do that. And she's going to place one right here and put her meeple on it to claim that this is her watering hole. Now over here on the scoring chart, it shows you the first person to put down a watering hole tile and claim it gets 3 points. So she's actually going to get 3 more points, which puts her up to 20. And she's going to be able to move the ranger back around the board somewhere where she expects to extend her growth somewhere else here. And so that's going to give her another 3 points. And she's hoping to maybe connect these roads. So she's going to put it there and gives her another 3 points. So she's burst into the lead here with the first scoring bushland. And that's the end of Janelle's turn. All right, back to Aaron's turn. He has a road and bushland. She's kind of looking around, seeing what he could do here. He would like to extend this road because that has chimpanzee, elephant, and giraffes. Now he's got 3 different animals along this road, so he's going to do that. Now he doesn't need to claim that road because he's already claimed that portion, and you can't actually put a meeple on a road that already has another meeple on it. Now you might have meeples on 2 different portions of the road that are not connected, and eventually they could become connected. And if that happens, you look to see who has the most meeples to see who's actually the one that's going to earn the points for it. If it ends up being a tie, both players earn full points. But in this case, he really can either choose to put a meeple in that bushland if he wants to try to claim the bushland, or because he has these tiles, he could choose to start an oasis of his own, or he could decide he may want to move the ranger somewhere else so that he could potentially get points for displacing the ranger later. And that's what he's going to do this time. He's going to move the ranger over here so that if he can extend that road next time, he'll earn points for displacing the ranger. And so he didn't place a meeple. That's his move, and that's the end of his turn. Back to me. All right, now I've got a nice corner piece here so I can finally expand some bushland, and I planted in this bushland up here. It also has a lion in it, and this has elephants. So that's good because it will give me an opportunity to expand with 2 different animals. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here. And that gives me now 2 bushland territories with a lion and an elephant, and also 2 birds flying overhead. So it could be a potentially high-scoring bushland in the future. Now I could place a meeple on this road if I want, but I think I'll not do that. And that's the only place I could place a meeple with that tile placement. I could move the rangers if I want to try to set up displacing a ranger in a future turn, or I can start to put down these tiles. And so at this point, I think I will also go ahead and start putting down tiles to create a water hole. So I'm going to put a lion right here and put my meeple on there to show that I have created the first portion of that watering hole, and that earns me 3 points. And that's the end of my turn. On to Janelle's turn. She's going to take this one. She's got a baobab tree and some roads. Now, she could go ahead and use this here, and I think that's what she's going to do because that allows her to displace the ranger again. And it fits nicely there with those two road segments. So she's going to continue the road that she's already on. She could claim this road, but there's 2 zebras on there, and that means there's only one type of animal, which will only give her 1 point. So she could claim that with one of her meeples. But it's probably not worth 1 point. It's probably better for her to put the meeple on the baobab tree, because then she gets 2 tiles, and she has no tiles left because she used one to claim an extra point on her bushland and another one to start an oasis, or a watering hole. So she gets 2 tiles for claiming that baobab tree. And that's the end of her turn. Oh, no, it isn't. She has to put the ranger back on. So she's going to try to predict where might she go next. Maybe she's going to pick, this would probably be a hard one to fill, so maybe this one. She'd love to fill that one and continue her road, but that may be a little harder tile to find. She's going to put it there. And because she displaces, she gets 3 more points, 26 points. We'll just go a couple more turns here. I think you're starting to get an idea, but I'd like you to see at least a little more of the watering hole development and also a little bit more of the road development. So a few more turns. All right, now it's Aaron's turn. All right, so he has bushland and an animal trail. All right, so he isn't in any of the bushland yet. He could add this here because that will displace the ranger, and that will complete his road, which he could score and earn some points. He doesn't have any points yet, so I think he's going to do that. So he's going to displace the ranger, and that finishes off his road. Now, it doesn't really matter how long the road is, like in the regular Carcassonne, for those that are familiar with that. It's how many different animals, as we've said. So chimp, elephant, giraffe, zebra, 4 different animals. Now, he could look over here and see he has giraffes and chimps, but he also has lions. So if he puts a lion along this trail, he has 5 different animals along that trail. 5 different animals is 15 points. So that's what he's going to do. And he goes from 0 to 15 in a quick hurry. Now, once you've placed a lion in the bushland or on an animal trail like that to gain the extra points, they're discarded from the game. And that completed his trail, so he'll get his meeple back. And he could choose to put a meeple here because he just he still just placed that tile, so he gets to place a meeple if he wants to. He can't place it on the road because the road's already completed and he was already on the road to begin with, but he could go ahead and place it in this bushland if he'd like. The other option would be to start his own oasis, but I think he'll go ahead and push himself into that bushland. It's got a lion and a bird, so that might not be a bad bushland to develop. All right, now it's my turn. I've got another baobab tree and a curled road. That curled road fits nicely for me there and puts an elephant along my safari road. Now I've got three elephants. Now I have this meeple here that's got this oasis started. I could claim that baobab tree, and that's probably the wise decision for me because I have lions and chimps here. When we develop these watering holes, they have to be different animals around the watering hole. And since I have so many lions, it's probably wise for me to go ahead and put this down by the baobab tree and see if I can get a little more variety in my animals. And I got another twofer, but it's got 2 elephants this time. So I've got a lion, now I've got elephants and chimps. I could start expanding that watering hole a little bit better. And that's the end of my turn. Oh, sorry. On Aaron's turn, we've got to put the ranger back. So he's going to want to expand this bushland. So that gives him 3 points for displacing the ranger and now putting it back on the board. Sorry about that, Aaron. Stole your points. Almost. All right, so now I've just completed my turn. I've placed my meeple. I've extended my road, and it's Janelle's turn. All right, just a straight-up baobab tree. And so where would Janelle like to place this? Well, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere if she does it, but if she does, it displaces the ranger, which is going to earn her points, so we put that over. She could claim the baobab tree to get some more of these tiles, or she could actually go ahead and start expanding her current watering hole. And she has a line on that watering hole. So I think that's what she's going to do. Instead of placing a meeple, she's going to expand the watering hole. And so she's going to put her zebra down on this watering hole. And now she's got another part of the watering hole complete. And if we look over here, when the person who places the second piece earns 4 points. And so she's going to go from 26 to 30. Now, it's a good point maybe to mention that you don't actually have to just work on your own watering holes, because it's not necessarily just the owner who earns points on those watering holes. It's also whoever places those tiles. So she happened to place it on the one that she had already started, but I could have placed a tile there too and still gotten those 4 points. The first person that lays it down claims it, and if they can complete it, or if it gets completed by other players, they earn a bonus of 3 points once it's completed, because it was their watering hole, the watering hole they developed. But they don't have to be the only players that actually play on it. So that's her play. Instead of putting a meeple down, she's put the zebra watering hole tile down on the watering hole. She does have to put the ranger back on, and she does get 3 points for displacing the ranger. And so as she puts it back on, let's see. I think she's going to take a risk and put it here and see if she can maybe try to connect that. She's hoping for a great tile. When we go to Aaron's turn, we'll do 1 turn more for each of us. All right, so Aaron got bushland, and he's in this bushland, plus he can displace the safari car, the ranger's truck. So now he's got a bushland with both a lion and a giraffe, and he's displaced the ranger. And there's really no need for him, or actually no ability to place a meeple, because he already has a meeple in that bushland, and there's no other road or baobab tree for him to put a meeple on, so he can't place a meeple. And he can't move the other ranger card because he just displaced this one. So his best option is to look at maybe creating his own oasis, or he could choose to, if he wants, go ahead and put one of his tiles onto Janelle's oasis, and that would earn him 5 points. So what will he do? I think he's going to actually start developing his own, though. And so he's going to put a giraffe right here and claim it with his meeple, and that gets him 3 points. All right, 1 more turn for myself, and I've fallen way behind here. I've got a lot of meeples out there, though. All right, so for this one, I've got partial bushland and another baobab tree. And there aren't too many places that are going to help me a lot. I can't put it up here. That would be nice. It would close off my little bushland there, and I could displace the ranger, but there's a road that doesn't let me do that. And that's the only bushland that I'm in, is that one right up there, which may end up being a hard one to complete. I can't finish surrounding this baobab tree that I'm on because I need these 2 spots, and this won't fit in either of those spots because of the types of terrain. I could put it here, and that'll start to further complete the baobab tree that I have a meeple on there. So I think I'll do that. I only have 1 meeple, so I'm kind of running out of options, but there are 2 different animals in this very small bushland, so I'm going to go ahead and claim it. And 2 different animals in that bushland gives me 3 points. So that moves me up to 9 points. And it's completed, so I get my meeple right back. But I did place a meeple, so that's the end of my turn. Now Janelle's turn. She'll take a tile. All right, so here's her decision that she needs to make. This tile actually perfectly fits right here. It actually completes my bushland, so she has to decide if she really wants to help me out with that. It would also complete her road, but not in an extremely beneficial way, because it just adds a zebra. She's already got an elephant and a zebra on there, so it doesn't add any more animals. It gives her another place where she could put a baobab tree, and she does have 3 meeples still left, and it would be fairly well surrounded, but this piece might be really hard to find, and it might never get fully surrounded, so that might not be a great option either. So thinking about her options, she's probably going to look for a different place to put this. Now she may want to come and look over here. She could complete this road, and by completing that road, she could get some points as a zebra and a lion. 2 different animals gives her 3 points for that road. She could put her person down and collect some more tiles for her baobab tree, and she would like to keep working on this watering hole. She's got a lion and a zebra here. She's got a chimp, so she could go ahead and start continuing that water hole development, but then she's not going to have that 4th one yet. So, and this baobab tree is pretty well surrounded already, so I think she's going to place down that baobab tree and not claim the immediate points, because that gives her those 2 tiles, and it does give her a couple new tiles. So that's the partial playthrough. Hopefully that gives you a feel for whether or not this is the kind of game you would enjoy. and basically how the game works, what the different moves and plays would be. I'd like to talk to you now a little bit about final scoring, but I'm going to go ahead and play through some more of the game, get the board set up as a final board, and then I can better explain final scoring. All right, so I finished out the rest of the game pretty rapidly, so I don't think he used super strategic moves always, but yeah, and Aaron really surged into the lead. He's already passed 100 and he's at 118. Janelle is at 90 and I'm at 84. So pulling up the rear here. And so now that we're at the end, this is how we score the final part of the game. Any of the uncompleted watering holes don't earn any points. So Janelle will take back the meeple from that watering hole and that won't earn any points. But the other watering holes were completed and have already been awarded points. And then we look at uncompleted Baobab trees. Those also don't earn any points. So unfortunately, because of these tiles, this one never got completed, 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 this one never got completed. There were just holes where they just couldn't get filled in to earn those tiles. So like I said, maybe not the best strategy as I was trying to move through pretty quick, but we had a lot of Baobab trees not completed, not fully surrounded. So, all right, then we go to partially completed bushlands and partially completed trails. And so for me, I only have one out here. I have a partially completed bushland, and you just count 1 point for every animal and bird. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I get another 6 points. So I end up at 90 as my final score. And actually 92, because you get 1 point for each of your tiles that you have left over. So I got to 92, my 50 plus 42 on the scoreboard. Janelle has some points out here on the board. So on this road, she's got an elephant and a zebra and a chimp. So she's got a 3-point trail there. So that puts her up to 93. And then she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 animals in that partially completed land there. So that puts her up to 102. And so that flips over her 50 to 100 point tile. And that ends up being the final scoring. Everything has been scored. So in the end, the scores that you've been earning all throughout for completing the trails, for completing the bushlands, for completing the watering holes, and for moving the displaced ranger, and add up to those partially completed trails, partially completed bushlands. And actually, Janelle does get another one here for her extra token, and Aaron gets another one here for his extra token. And so in this case, Aaron would have won 119 to 103 to 92, so kind of spread out. But you can see in the end, sometimes you get these little holes in the board that are really hard to complete, which especially for those Baobab trees, that makes it tough to get them surrounded. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of final scoring. Now let's talk about my review. What do I think about Carcassonne Safari? For my review, I like to look at 6 different categories and give them a 0, 1, or 2. If it's a 0, I feel like it really fell on that part. If it's a 1, I thought it was satisfactory. And 2, I just think it really hit the mark. And in the end, there will be a score of somewhere between 0 and 12. So the first category is production. And the production value for this game, I think, is quite good. The wooden meeples, little elephants, the people, the rangers. It's nice, chunky little what you expect wooden pieces, which are nice. The cardboard tiles are all nice and thick. The art is pretty on the boards. The little watering tiles are nice. Yeah, everything's really good about the production. Even the insert, it's nothing fancy, but it holds the pieces nicely. Yeah, I think the production, the components, it doesn't really need any player aids. The game is simple as it is. And the back page of the rulebook has a nice summary of all the different tiles that are there, so you can kind of look at that to see what's still not in play. So I think the production value is 2 out of 2. The second category is theme, and for theme, it's Carcassonne Safari, and I feel like they've tied the theme in really well with, instead of counting how many tiles you have to earn you points, it's counting the different animals, because the more animals you would see on your safari, the more engaging it would be, the more people would want to pay to go on your safari. And so I think that makes sense. And it's just a fun theme, seeing all the animals, seeing the elephants and zebras. I can see my grandkids really enjoying this game for the art of the game and just the theme of the game, both intertwining really well. So the art and the gameplay, I think, both make the theme come to life. And so I'd give it also 2 out of 2. For mechanisms and decision making, there's nothing super complicated, but it's a light to medium weight game, and I think that the mechanism and decision making makes sense. I like the fact that you can move the ranger cars around. You can think about how you might be moving that to benefit yourself or to take benefit away from the other players. You can think about how you might actually steal points by finishing someone else's watering hole. When you finish the watering hole, you get 6 points for placing that fourth tile. And even if it's not your watering hole, if it's coming to the end of the game and you realize I'm going to get 6 even though they're going to get 3, you're still, if it's close, that 3 points might be the difference. And so there's a lot of little strategy. You want to be engaged in what the other players are doing. There's a lot to think about. It's not just matching the tiles up, but starting to predict, well, what tiles are left? Can I complete that? Do I need to put on a Baobab tree so I can get some more animal tiles to complete a watering hole? Do I need more animal? Should I use the animal tiles to give me more points on the trail or into the bushland that I'm developing? Or should I save them so that I can complete the watering hole? So lots of little things to think about. Nothing super complicated, but for this weight of a game, I think the decision making that you have to make and the mechanisms that are at play, they fit the game, and it's challenging and keeps you engaged with what the other players are doing as well. So I'd give it 2 out of 2 for mechanisms and decision making. The next category is game flow, and the game moves pretty quickly. Sometimes this could be subject to analysis paralysis for certain players, and I've seen games where people are taking the tiles ahead of their turn to try to avoid that, but then it gets a little bit oh, wait a minute, am I next? Who's next? Because sometimes you're just waiting. And so that downtime is a little bit of a knock, but overall it generally flows pretty well. You're always kind of watching what other people are doing, but you're also thinking about what you might be doing next. And if you do that, take the tile ahead, it gives you a little time to think about it. And while that can lead to some confusion, it does avoid some of the downtime. It's really close. I feel like the game flows pretty good. It maybe goes a little longer than I'd like it to, but only a little bit. I want to give it a half, but I don't do that in my scale, so I'm just going to give it 1. I think it's good. I don't think it's great in terms of game flow. So those are some little knocks, just mainly downtime, but not bad at all. For replay value, in terms of replay value, the board's going to turn out different every time. The way you play and what you draw, the way the oases come out, everything's going to be different every time. So in that regard, replay value is really good. It's never going to be the same game twice. I don't think for our group it's going to be super replayable. Just I think we'll play it every once in a while. Might be fun to introduce a tile laying game to someone new. But I don't think it's going to see a ton of play in our household. I think we'll play it occasionally. But it does start to feel a little bit samey after a while. You're just laying a tile and there's not enough depth to it to really, I think, push it to the real high level of replayability, although it's good. But I'm going to give it a 1 in this category as well. And the last category is just sort of my overall personal value, sort of taking all of those things into mind, which are all my personal opinion to begin with, but then sort of summarizing it up for myself. Would I consider this one of my top-rated games where I give it a 2? Would I consider it kind of a game I'll probably trade away, which would be a 0? Or is it one that's going to have some lasting staying power and be a 1? And for this one, Carcassonne Safari does earn a 1. By no means do I expect to trade it away. I think it's got enough replayability and we would get enough enjoyment out of it that it's worth staying on the shelf. It's different from the main Carcassonne game in enough ways. I think having both is fine. And it's easy enough you could teach it to a wide variety of other players. Like I said, I think eventually even teaching it to my grandkids will be fun. So it's going to stay, but I wouldn't put it in that top rank of my games where I'm just always wanting to get it off the shelf and always wanting to play it. So solid 1. So overall that gives it a 9 out of 12, very solid and respectable score. So hopefully this partial playthrough, this review, has been helpful for you to determine, is this a game for you? Is this one that you would want to invest in? Hopefully I didn't make too many mistakes, and if I did, I apologize for that. You can leave comments down below to point out mistakes that I made. But even with the mistakes, hopefully you still got a feeling for the flow of the game and decide whether it's for you. If you did like the video, if it was helpful, click on that like button. I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and follow my channel. And if you want to get notifications of future videos, click on that bell icon. And do leave comments, not just for goofs, although that's fine too, but if you really like other Carcassonne games, or if there was something about this one that caught your eye, leave me some comments below. I'd love to read them. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.